Hello, my name's Stephen from K-Scale Models, and today I'm doing a spotlight video on the mobile worker Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans 1 over 1/44th. It's made by Leo here, and you can find it on Thingiverse. I'll put the links in the description below. It was made back in 2020, so a couple of years old now, but it's still a very good model. Now, just to go over why I'm doing a spotlight of it, not just because I really like this model, but because I believe this is a good entry-level model for someone that's getting into 3D printing Gunpla. Now, you may be able to tell from these that these were made on an FDM printer, an Ender 3 to be exact, and if you're aware, an Ender 3 is the kind of like gateway printer for people. So this being able to be made on an Ender 3 is amazing and really is quite good for a beginner's model. I'll go through more about it in a minute, but let's just go through the parts first. So we got the main body, we've got two of these rifles, one here, one here. We have the actual missile pack, and fun fact, there's a Bandai kit of this particular model, doesn't come with a missile pack, so yeah, this is actually better in some ways, but I normally recommend to go buy the actual model from Bandai, although at the moment you'll be paying scalper prices of over £30. I've checked. I was going to do that for this video. But anyway, the last part is the legs. Now, just quick note with the models, the missile packs come as one part. So if you need to split these up, then I've shown you how to do that in the previous tutorial. You don't really need to in this case. In FDM, this works fine in this orientation and probably the best orientation for it. So yeah, that is the parts. Now, I've already downloaded them, so let's just go put them into Cura. Oh, Cura's got a problem. Some of these parts have got errors. Now, just for the record, you can print this out fine like this. I did so for a test just to make sure that, yeah, these don't actually affect anything. But you might find that models like this come up where something's gone wrong and you need to go fix it. The quickest way is 3D Builder. So I go on about this quite a lot. It is a fantastic little program. So we're just importing it. It's millimeters. Yes, it says there's an error. Fix error. Fixed. It's really that simple. It might take a little longer if you've got a really broken model, but in this case, yeah, it didn't take that long. And I have saved everything, and I did split the missiles off just because I like doing that, but you don't have to. So that's it on the slicer. If we do a preview just quickly, this is, oh, what printer did I set it up for? Ender 6. Okay, so just quick preview. Okay, I forgot to put supports on because that's an important one with this kit. It does require supports. It's not been broken up enough to not require them, but 1/44th scale and this size, yeah, you kind of can't get away from it. So that's what this will slice as, and I will cut now to me actually with a couple assembled models. And here we are. These are all the parts that have been printed out. So we've got the top, we've got the lower half, we've got the two guns, we've got two missile pods. Now, these have printed out all fairly well, but there is a couple of bits to watch out for. These little lights here actually have a bit sticking down, and that's broken off when I removed the support material. There is a little antenna here, and on FDM prints, that's always breaking off. So be careful of those when you're assembling or when you are taking off the supports. I have tried to print this out in a few variations, like few different orientations, and I do struggle with those lights at the front. Now, one other thing that I had a problem with, but this isn't really the model's fault, again, none of these are really the model's fault, is this. This is one of the missile pods. This one didn't work right, this one has. So, see if I can get the right side, there. So you can see there is a part that comes down on either side of these, and there isn't on this. What's happening is this was made in Prusa Slicer, this was made in Cura, and my settings are different. So obviously when I plugged it into Prusa Slicer, something's went wrong with the thin walls there and they've not printed. So yeah, be aware that you will need to double check your slicer and make sure it is actually printing those walls. So I would feel remiss if I didn't go and compare this to the Bandai. So just to go over it, that's the lower half, that's the upper half, and these are the two weapons. So let's just compare part from part. So the upper half, you'll see that this one, the 3D printed one, is a little taller. It's also a lot more detailed with stuff like the little tank on the back actually being, well, having more detail. It's got a hole in the middle. Antenna on this one, of course, hasn't broken off, but it's about the same size. And let's see, can I get the focus? Yeah, those light details, the ones that keep breaking off, they're smaller on the 3D printer version, larger on the actual Bandai version, and they don't come down past the hull, whilst in the 3D printed version they actually do, and I'll show you that later. Little underside ball bits there, but you also notice, if it will focus, the underside of the Bandai one is hollow. So this comes as part of a weapon set, and it's quite clear when I've looked at all the parts, they've kind of went for the weapon set more than they have the actual mobile armour. So compare the bottom half, and again the Bandai one is a little smaller, and I reckon the 3D printed one is about a little more detailed. There is a couple of bits here that are a bit nicer on the Bandai, but to be honest, it's very marginal, and compared to the fact that they haven't made an underside, kind of makes me think the 3D printed version is actually a superior version in that case. The weapons, well, you only get the rifle, you don't get the missile launcher. So you can see here the barrel here is very thin compared to this. Now, with 3D printing, you're going to have to make the barrel thicker because you can't get as fine a part. This part in here, let's see if it'll focus. Yeah, the little bit in there, the sort of, I can't remember what it's called on a weapon, but yeah, this bit here, it broke off kind of on my 3D printed version. But it's a solid piece in this, and it is actually kind of got a hole in the middle to give a bit more detail. So yeah, in many cases I am giving it to the 3D printed version, although again 3D printed is bigger. So it's obvious that this 3D model is not just a straight copy of the Bandai kit, this is its own kit, and to be honest, in many ways I think it's superior. Now, let's move the Bandai kit out of the way and just quickly assemble this and give you an idea. Actually, I'll go in and assemble the Bandai kit to give a comparison. So, the bottom and lower half just fit together. Gives a little articulation, and it's not too loose, not too secure. These parts here, these are the missile pods. I'm not going to assemble the rifles, I will break them if I try to do so on camera. But yeah, the missile pods do slip in. Now these are incredibly tight. So what this means to me, and I'll demonstrate this later, is that these have absolutely no clearance. So yeah, they are tight to assemble, so you may need to give it a bit of a sand. But the actual mechanism for turning left and right, yeah, that is fine, that's got sufficient clearance. Now, tipped over. Let's compare this to the Bandai one. So same sort of connection here, connects lower half to upper half. Actually about the same articulation. Oh yeah, forgot to say, the weapons on the 3D printed one can rotate because of course they're on pins. Oh. There. So that's them together. So as I say, very similar articulation. let's remove, although I'm not going to play around with them because I am worried I'm going to break them. But yeah, the 3D printed one again, if you look at this side by side, even without the missiles, it is slightly taller. So I don't know if that means it's more accurate, but to be honest, I like the proportions better. So let's go and have a comparison with all the ones I've built, because I've not just built one of these, so let's go. And here they are. So I've got the rifle one, the Bandai work rifle, the missile pods, and the sort of missile pods that didn't work. Now this guy's looking a little sad for himself because he did actually break. He's held together with blue tack at the moment. So yeah, that's all the FDM ones and of course the Bandai. Now it does seem a shame just to make these in FDM, so I made them in resin. Now you can see on this one, the antenna works fine. These little bits below the lights, they both are fine. So yeah, these prints will work okay. Now again, these parts are really stiff, and I tried to turn it there and it just wouldn't turn. I ended up having to glue this one in place because this broke as I was assembling it. To be honest, I didn't cure this part as much as I should have, so it was probably a little weak. So yeah, that's them all in 1 to 1/44 scale. Now, why stop there? Because I can just increase these by, 411% to get 35th scale. Let's zoom out a little. Move these back so you can see them all. And yeah, so these look amazing. Now, something to note with this one. These missile pods are, I've sanded them down, and I've sanded them down a little too much, hence why they're a bit weak. Now, these models do have a lot of side-to-side wiggle because, lo and behold, the clearance that was there for 1/44 is now massive to 1/35. So yeah, these guys really do struggle, except for this one, because I put some green stuff in there. Now, these bits here, so the actual weapons, they are really stiff to move and take a lot of effort to get in. So that tells me that there is absolutely no clearance on those. So be careful when assembling. And of course, yes, I did make the rifles as well. Got the other one here. So I put the missile pods on the resin one. So these are FDM, this is resin, just because I could. So yeah, that's them all assembled. Now, I'm just going to go over the point I had about the problems with the supports. So, I printed out more than enough hulls because I was having problems with these. These bits all here have been glued back on, and this is why. So, you can see that is where this is broken, and I've been trying to get this particular bit off, but it is also broken. Now, it is surrounded by supports, and it's breaking when I'm trying to remove these supports. And at this particular bit, it actually, if you can see here, kind of goes in. So what's happening there is that's the weakest point of the print, and it's just snapping. So yeah, if you've got some better settings regarding your filament retraction and your support, you can probably get away with those fine. But I'm having a lot of problems with getting them to, stay together. I do sometimes have problems with the antenna as well in this. I'm not too sure again if that's my settings, but yeah. The antenna on these little ones worked out until I touched them and then they snapped. So that might also be the filament I'm using is less sturdy than what you'll be using. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll have links for the actual model in the description below. Thank you for watching.